Alright guys, so I'm going to be showing you guys the peak brightness of the Vizio P-Series Quantum 2022. Now I'm going to have to sit a little off camera here and operate my computer as well, but you guys will still be able to hear me. As you guys see, you can probably still hear me. Not quite as good, but c'est la vie. So we're going to start off in a 1% window stimulus, and this is for SDR. And the 1% window stimulus, we are going to be at 567 on a peak. It's holding that pretty well. So far, it's not dropping off immediately or anything like that. And again, these numbers will go up and down on a variable level. You can expect that. But it's holding pretty well, and now it dropped down to 566. And that's pretty much where it will sit for the most part. Okay, so now we're going to go into a 2% window stimulus. We're going to go back. We're going to go to 2% window stimulus. And our peak is going to be 850. And it's going to fall off almost immediately, as we are now at 849. Now we're at 848. And it continues to decline as time goes on. So the longer the highlight sits, the dimmer it gets. Now we're at 846. And I reckon it'll continue to drop. So it's going to still be in the 800s. But again, it's not going to be as high as it was initially. So, as you're seeing, it's continuing to fall. So that's something that you can expect out of this. Now we're at 843, so you guys get the idea for the 2% window stimulus. Okay, so now we're going to go into a 5% window stimulus. Our peak is going to be 1,073 nits. That drops down, and now we're at 1,070. And again, you're over 1,000, so for this particular window stimulus, you're not really going to see much in the way of, I guess, that massive difference as far as the luminosity. It's still going to come in really bright. So either way you look at it, you're going to be just fine. So now it's dropping down to 960, 940, 924, 903, 884, 864, 845, 828, 811, 7. I mean, it's plummeting now. And the idea here is, when it comes in on the Vizio with the peak brightness, it really does slam through really bright. But then out of nowhere, as you guys are clearly seeing, there's a massive reduction in brightness that just happens, and it just plummets, and it keeps falling and falling and falling. I think this is something to do with the dimming algorithm, honestly. But it is a very strange behavior. But this is something that I noticed. And now you're holding 415 nits. So if there's a certain scene in a movie that exceeds over 1,000 nits, it's going to gradually decrease. So this TV is essentially only good for peak highlights, like the initial explosions or booms or bangs, or coming out of a dark tunnel into a bright sky. It's really good for that, but it's not very good when we talk about maintaining and holding that brightness, as you guys just saw there. Very dramatic that was. Okay then, so on to the next window stimulus, which is our 10% window stimulus. And then immediately we are at 1,070, we were over 1,070 nits. But similarly, as you guys have seen, now we're at 1,138 nits. So I guess the screen saving that it just was doing from the last thing, where it was gradually decreasing or whatever it was doing, finally wore off, and now we're at 1,135. That's our peak right now. And again, it will gradually decrease. So the longer you keep it, the more it's just going to slowly fall. And I think that's the conversation that we need to have as far as the peak highlights. Because as you're seeing now, I see the screen gradually dimming in real life. And I look over at the software here, and it's completely dimming. It's just dropping and dropping and dropping. And it's crazy, because this is, again, much like I was saying a second ago, how, again, not very good for the sustainability, but you are getting over 1,100 nits out of this TV. Okay, so then let's go to our next window stimulus, which is our 25% window. Things start getting a little bit less bright now. So we are at 574 on a peak, and then that's dropping. We're still dropping now. Now wait a minute, we're at 930 something. Whatever the 900 number was, you can run it back. That was the peak. Very weird behavior this has, where you can see it kind of thinking, where it starts off being really dim from the last window where it gradually fell off, the highlights gradually fell off, and it takes a while for the local dimming algorithm to recognize, oh, we should be bright now, and then boom, it's almost like a booster out of nowhere, as you guys are seeing here. So very weird behavior. I don't think I've seen a TV do that like ever. So very slow thinking local dimming algorithm, but to be expected because the overall user interface is pretty slow. So yeah, not impressive, but at the end of the day, you are holding 950, let's say 950. Let's just cut them short because, you know, it's going to continue to fall. But at the same token, I mean, 950 is what I think it'd be comfortable with, even though we have 955 here. Okay, so now let's go on to our next window stimulus, our 50%. And 700 is what we have right now. Let's see if we get a rocket booster out of anywhere. Some random rocket boost in brightness like we had before. We were at 701. Doesn't appear like we're going to get saved by any rocket boosts in brightness like we did on those other window stimuluses. So right now we're at 701. And it's actually holding that pretty confidently. Not bad. Alright, so not bad for that. 701, that's still pretty bright. As I look at it, it's a really bright window stimulus, so I don't really find myself, you know, looking at it like it's a bad window stimulus or anything like that. It's very bright, you know, for the kind of condition that I'm in right now anyway. And again, it only dropped down to like 700 nits, now 701, and it's like teetering back and forth, but good stuff there out of the 50% window stimulus. Now we're going to go over to the 75% window stimulus, where we have 608. And we're just going to let it sit there. 608 on the window stimulus. We're just waiting. A lot of this is going to be a waiting game, but also it's important to see this aspect of it because you're able to see in real time how the brightness performs. And so I'll comfortably call this around 608. So that's pretty good for 75% window stimulus, which again, keep in mind, is really good for those really bright scenes in movies that fill up most of the screens, like a full day scene. So now we're going to go to the 100% window stimulus, full screen, full field of brightness. We have 521, 608, and so let's see how long it holds 608. All in all, the brightness is doing pretty good. I have no problems with the brightness. I told you guys in the initial unboxing I was pretty impressed by the peak highlights that were being blasted off during the demo, so I have no doubt that that's a lot due into the part that, again, it's just kind of what it is, right? We're looking at it right here. We're looking at a TV that's capable of over 1100 nits, that's hitting, you know, over 600 on a full screen and over 700 on most of the other screens. I mean, it's pretty impressive for the brightness aspect of it. It maintains pretty well, except for the absolute brightest. Once you start getting up to 1000 nits, it just almost plummets dramatically. And those are the worst cases and examples that I've seen. So yeah, that's very weird that that's the behavior that it has, but either way, you guys are seeing it here. So that's how the SDR performs for it, and I want to thank you guys so much for watching the #1 brand in honesty. If you have questions, leave them down below, and until the next video, I'll see you guys later.